in vibrato. The most important thing is to loosen the fingers, loosen the wrist, and this joint in the finger. Say third, also the thumb, because if the thumb and this part of the hand is really tight against the neck, then it's impossible for the hand to slide back and forth. If you imagine that you're bouncing a ball, see how the wrist is very, very loose. Kind of motion is starting from the elbow, and then we turn the hand towards us, and now imagine that you're bouncing that ball towards your head. So this is the ideal motion. You'll see that the wrist is very flexible. I'm not doing the motion from the wrist. The motion doesn't start from the wrist, it actually starts from the elbow. But what you see is mostly from the wrist. So a lot of people, they try to do this motion from the wrist, but their finger right here is completely locked. So the other thing that we have to learn is to unlock this joint. There's 3 different types of vibrato we can talk about. We often interchange and use various different types depending on the style of music that we want to do. There's finger vibrato, which basically is the finger is going from upright to flat. So this we could call a finger vibrato. There's a wrist vibrato. So now we're creating a similar motion, but we're going back from the wrist. Or there's the arm vibrato. Whatever the main big motion is going to be, this finger, this joint has to be loose, the thumb has to be loose, the wrist has to be loose. Okay, so let's dive in and talk about some of the exercises that we can do. Start without having the bow. So if we now think of this motion that we were talking about and going towards our head, so if I put up my violin, I'm just going to let my thumb and my hand, I'm just going to do that same motion going up and down. You'll notice that my thumb is moving, my hand is moving. Okay, so next take something like a Kleenex and fold it. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it underneath my hand, and I'm going to put all my fingers on it. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to stay on one string and just slide back and forth. So again, you'll notice that I'm starting to create this motion right here. The big motion is through my, starting from here. I can also do this up here. I can do this only from my wrist. So we want to loosen up the wrist. We can do it with the whole arm. And then gradually we can do one finger. So right now my thumb is moving with my hand, and you can lean your instrument into a wall or just make sure that you're really holding it here and move the thumb together with the finger. And then eventually we want to lock the thumb and still move that finger back and forth. This is really important that we're loosening that joint there. And I can do that with all my fingers, going one at a time. So now the next step is we want to have the finger on the string, and we're going to pinch that string just a little bit, just enough to hold that string down into the fingerboard. And you want to make sure that it goes right down, not sideways. Sometimes we pull sideways like this, but we're going to have it along the string. And we're going to go from an upright position like this and back. So you'll notice this part of my hand right here is moving back. Now you can do that first with your thumb and everything going backwards except for that finger that's staying on the string. So again, we're doing all of this without any bow. Okay. And then eventually you want to lock your thumb. Now, for some people who hold their instrument locked down here, you're not going to have vibrato. There's no way that you can move if my hand is locked like this. So try to get your thumb kind of in between your first and second fingers, and we're moving around it like that. And see how I've loosened up this joint here. And I'm not going down. You want to make sure that you're not going underneath. This part of your hand right here, whenever you're playing, should never go beneath the fingerboard. So we're always going back, not under. This is really not good if we're going under. So you want to go back. We can be up here. We can do it from our wrist and then let that finger go back. You can be down here. Do it more from your wrist or more from your elbow. When our finger is in its upright position like this, that is our in tune note. And the motion is always going back from that in tune note. So one exercise that you can practice, let's say I'm starting from this note. Okay, I'm taking my pinky out of the picture just so you can see, but we can use the pinky as well above if we want. So I'm gonna practice. Notice how I'm going from upright to back, almost flat. And I'm going from the in pitch note to half a step back. And I could do it with a metronome. Gradually speed it up. We're not squeezing, so you can go from a light finger that's not really pressing, gradually put it down. How much do you really need in order to get that string to go down? Another exercise you can do is keeping your thumb in place. You can go from the note. Again, we're unlocking this thumb joint. Or now the problem with this exercise is that my finger is staying in that curved position, and eventually we also need to unlock that joint going back. So keeping just enough weight into that finger that you can go back. Okay, so let's say we're playing a simple song. We're doing Mary Had a Little Lamb. I'm not using any vibrato. But if I want makes things a lot nicer. And if we want to play here, if I want to get closer to a richer sound near the bridge, it's going to sound really, really tight, but if I start playing with the vibrato, it gives it a very different character. Hear that? Same thing if I'm over the fingerboard. That's a very airy sound. But if I add a little bit of vibrato, notice how this, I'm using very little vibrato. I'm using a lot more vibrato. For example, that's without vibrato. Gives it a very different sound, gives it a little bit of warmth. That often musical people, they will find ways to create vibrato. They hear it want it. And so they try wiggling their fingers and doing various things to create that sound, but they're not quite happy with it and they're not quite sure why.